Hello, guys. This is your boy Vipers here tonight, and we're going to do another episode of The Gamertakes, episode 45 here. The topic we're going to be talking about tonight is, let me get it prepared, DMCA slash monetization and why it shouldn't fucking exist. This has been a controversy. This has been a controversial topic that's happened in the last, we'll say about 3 to 6 months, kind of ever since COVID's hit. It's been controversial since it's kind of been founded, ever since I've been wondering why DMCA does exist, or must be it's kind of copyright since YouTube existed back in 2005, 2006. And, it has kind of caused, money to be lost, clips to be deleted. A lot of music can't be played at certain places. And it's been a big concern for a long time. And we're going to kind of talk about it and why it shouldn't really kind of be there. So we're going to let our guest introduce himself, and yeah.
Hey, what's up, everyone? So my name is Marc Freccero. I am both a YouTuber and a DJ and electronic music producer. So this is something I'm actually very excited to talk about in this podcast because I sometimes see a lot of people bring up like DMCA and takedowns and monetization on the YouTube side who get mad at musicians. But then also I understand being a musician and a content creator on the music side, how it also affects YouTube, streaming, Twitch, et cetera, et cetera. So definitely a very interesting topic. I know right now it's a very heated one, I think on both sides, both for content creators in terms of YouTube and streaming and more platforms, and then also musicians as well.
Yeah. So I found you via a YouTube video. I kind of just search up and who kind of recently posted DMCA monetization video in the last month or year or so. So that's kind of how I found it. So we're going to kind of cover a lot of stuff that you kind of mentioned in the video. So opening topic question I got for you is, what got you interested in wanting to become a DJ? Yeah.
So for me, when it comes to music, I originally got started actually as a pianist. I was a classical pianist for 10 years, then moved to saxophone, was a saxophonist for 7 years, specializing in jazz and ska. And then for me, I hit electronic music and fell in love with it. Like that's right when I hit electronic. It was, I think everything I loved about classical and jazz and everything combined into one. There's a lot of things I love about classical music, a lot of things I don't. Same thing with jazz. And so electronic kind of encapsulated all the pros and not as many of the cons musically. And so then once I started like listening to electronic music, fell in love with it, and then realized, okay, if I really want to do this maybe more seriously, what actually becomes like a profession, started DJing and then mixing, did, house parties, college parties, and then started producing my own electronic music. And then in the meantime, started, to combine that with YouTube, and then the rest is history, I guess.
How many gigs have you been a part of since you started?
Ooh, honestly, I don't know. I guess that's probably like the best answer I can give in a good way, that I've done everything from, dive bars to, music festivals to nightclubs to random house parties all over to every gig you can possibly think of. So I think like most musicians, especially in the beginning, you do a lot of different things. So honestly, I have no idea, which is cool to say, I guess.
Yeah. Also, one more thing to ask is, Daft Punk, I think it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Decided to split up after 28 years. I didn't know that those duo was 28 years old.
Yeah.
So kind of, what was your reaction along with that?
I felt mixed. I think on one end, Daft Punk's always gonna be legendary. That goes without saying. I also did hear that one of them, I can't remember which one, but he actually did have hearing issues and did have some kind of ear damage. So that was probably the main reason why they broke up. That's my guess. So that obviously was like very unfortunate to hear. But also they'll always be legendary. In my mind, I'm like, they had such an amazing run that I'm curious to see if one of them, whether it's both of them or maybe just one of them, will pursue maybe their own solo project. That sometimes typically happens when, like, say, a duo breaks up for whatever reason, and one of them or both of them decide to pursue like their own solo project. So I'm more excited to see maybe if that will happen, but I guess we'll have to see. But just, it was more of like the way I looked at it is more of like the, I know, super cliche, but don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened type thing. Obviously Daft Punk is always going to be one of the biggest influential electronic groups of all time.
Did you ever use them was it kind of like inspiration for you, trying to be like as one of the inspirations into creating your music? as a
For
DJ?
me, the weird thing for me actually when it comes to my inspiration in like a very roundabout way was actually from DDR or Dance Dance Revolution. I
Hmm.
used to be a wrestler, and my way to cut weight, I'm not even exaggerating, was to play DDR. So I was like obsessed with it. I had a Cobalt Flux pad for any big DDR nerd. It was like arguably the most or the best made pad for like home. There was like a metal pad. So I used that a lot when playing. Did it to cut weight for wrestling. And I loved the dance music, obviously, of Dance Dance Revolution and the electronic music with it. And so that's what really got me, I think, into some genres of electronic, specifically actually trance and side trance. Because also there's a bunch of subsects of electronic. We have everything from dubstep to house to a bunch of different genres. And so it was really, I'd say, like more actually a group called Infected Mushroom and Two Unlimited. Both of them really got me into trance and side trance. And then as I started to get more into electronic music, obviously fell in love with more genres like more heavy bass music. If you think people like Skrillex, I also love everything from more what's considered mainstream electronic. People like Martin Garrix or Afrojack or the Chainsmokers, and then everything in between.
Okay, just curious. I guess,
Yeah.
kind of being 28 years old, kind of should have a lot of
Yeah.
inspiration for a lot of EDM
Oh, yeah.
people. So we're going to get into the main topic now,
Okay.
where we're going to kind of talk. First thing, we're going to talk about DMCA. I think from what I have in order,
Mhm.
we're going to kind of talk about DMCA first. Then we're going to kind of maybe 5 to 6 questions in. We'll go to monetization, and we'll
Yep.
probably mix it up at the end with the DMCA and monetization.
Gotcha. Sounds good.
So the first question is: they recently had, mostly this is for Twitch,
Mhm.
Twitch streamers. They recently had content creators on Twitch delete clips that contain music, although the clips were a couple years old. What could have been the
Yeah.
cause of that situation happening as of late?
So this, I'm gonna. Okay, so before we even, I think, get to like also what happened with Twitch, I think one thing that this is what gets very tricky, I think, with DMCA takedowns and everything is one. Remember that musicians are just like streamers and YouTubers, and I'm trying to like play to both sides here to kind of give a very objective perspective on both angles of this, because streamers are like, hey, we're making content, we're working super hard, and we're trying to make amazing content on Twitch, like you mentioned, and YouTube as well. On the other end, musicians like, hey, I spent hours, months, years. Like obviously, every musician knows how much time it takes and how much work it takes to make an album or sometimes even one track. And there's been a lot of times in the past for musicians, for example, where someone has used their music, made a ton of money and a shitload of money from their music, and the musician gets none of that. So for the DMCA, I think the intent, and obviously, is like the road to hell is paved with good intentions. The intent, I think, with the DMCA is for people who make a lot of music or people who make digital content. We don't want them to be screwed over by someone else stealing their content and using it, and then not getting like accurately represented, whether it's monetarily or whatever the case is. I think they're bringing that to Twitch. I think the unfortunate thing, because this happened a lot on YouTube too, like the same thing that's happening on Twitch right now happened on YouTube, is that for the DMCA, they're thinking that they're doing the right thing because let's say hypothetically you're a content creator and all you do, I'm just making this up as an example, let's say you're a Twitch streamer and all you do is play Lady Gaga's albums on repeat. You don't do anything else. You have a black screen like this and all you do is play Lady Gaga's albums on repeat. And like, so you make all the money from that stream, from donations, subscribers, etc. Well, if you think about it, Lady Gaga should get some of that money. Let's be honest. You're not doing anything except just essentially using her content just to make money because you're not making any content on top of that. However, and this is where kind of the gray area exists, if you are a streamer who's, like, say, playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, which is a legendary soundtrack, where you are using copyrighted songs. However, you are making content that is technically fair use because you are adding informational and educational content on top of that stream. And I think this is where it gets tricky where on one end, like Lady Gaga's example, like I just said, it makes sense that she should get some of that money because you're not doing anything. However, for a lot of streamers who have it in the background, who use it, like I said, like say if a game naturally has songs, it's tricky that now the DMCA is going to all of these streams, past, present, future, and now saying, hey, if any single time you have copyrighted music in the stream, we're taking it down, which is unbelievably fucked up because there's a lot of different scenarios. Like I don't know if you heard, but I can't remember the guy's name, but the Dragon Forest guitar player, Dragon Force guitar player had one of his streams taken down when he was playing his own music. And you're like, wait a minute, like it's this dude's actual song. And yet the DMC is like, hold the fuck up. And they just took it down. And I think that's where the tricky thing comes into play is that obviously it's not a one size fits all scenario. But right now, especially like you mentioned with the past streams, the DMCA is making it seem like that.
I just don't. I don't get why. they had to delete clips from a couple years old. It doesn't make any sense. That's already 4 years in the
Yeah.
past, and I I just think as we're gonna 2 questions away,
Yeah.
a lot of politics, just everybody's chasing money,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it kind of sucks that's got to happen. I just don't think these clips are old. It doesn't, maybe it's already on YouTube. You already have many videos on YouTube
Mhm.
with DMC clips, but it's just kind of doesn't make sense why it has to be kind of deleted. And
Yeah.
also with when you mentioned about the money part, I
Mhm.
feel like one solution that could happen is just like, okay, the music's identified, you take a small cut, like
Yes.
whatever, like I don't know how you want to do this. Just say whatever donation. Problem is, you don't donations and subs don't really a lot of times contribute to the music played on stream. They kind of contribute to
Yeah.
what you mentioned that yeah, you hold a black screen and you just play Lady Gaga, you get subs and donates. They're not usually doing that for the music unless it's
Exactly.
you're doing like a music stream where it's like that. But I don't know. It's something that we don't know. I think it's just kind of whatever, like maybe 90% of the money you make on stream, like if you play music and then should be kept for yourself. Maybe 10% gets donated to the music, so you don't have these controversies kind of with like takedowns. I don't think it's really effective, because
Agreed.
a lot of people do play video games with music because it keeps them in the zone, and it's fine if you don't have music with streams because a lot of people do like to hear the content creators, but it kind of helps the players, the people playing to have that music in their system.
No, I completely agree. And I think you hit a good point on the fact of if, like, say, someone does a 3 hour long stream, and like, say, it was a past stream, like we're talking about past streams, and like, say, for 5 seconds, they had Rage Against the Machine playing, the entire stream will probably be taken down, which makes no sense because they have 3 hours of original content of like playing a game, adding commentary, and blah, blah, blah. And then they have 5 seconds of, like, say, I know, obviously ringtones are not that popular the way they used to be with like having actual songs. But like, say your phone goes off and it plays Rage Against the Machine because that was your ringtone for 5 seconds. The DMCA will probably take that down, which makes no sense. And I think you hit a good point where there should be something in place where it's almost like a balancing act where if you are using background music, should those musicians get some money? You could argue potentially, but not all of it. And the second thing is not having your entire stream and your career ruined just because you want to even support their music and play to help promote those artists. And that's where it gets incredibly annoying with the DMCA.
Yeah, that's where we gotta go with that. So next question is Cyberpunk 27, one of the failures of a video games that's been hyped for
Mhm.
so long,
Yeah.
recently had to tell content creators to take down the YouTube video or mute the portion of their audio if any of the game's soundtrack was heard during their recording. How could the music of future video games be altered even if they show what music is being played during the video for proof?
I think, see, I feel like this is almost like a double edged. Well, I feel like it's honestly more on the game itself because I think now a lot of game developers are used to the fact, or they should be used to the fact, people are going to stream our game. And if you are using copyrighted music in that game, I think, especially for game developers, you should be more aware that a lot of these gamers and streamers are going to suffer if you are using copyright material, and especially with Cyberpunk, like doing that almost retroactively, being like, hey, by the way, we didn't tell you this before, but now we're going to tell you, for example, you can't use any of the soundtrack in the video game because it's copyrighted. Well, that is something that's annoying for any streamer, anybody who's making a YouTube video from it. And I think it's almost like the big brother looking above because, as a quick side note, but it kind of relates. A lot of people think that it's the artist who contacts DMCA who says, hey, they use my song. I want them to take it down. It's usually actually the label. The labels are the biggest sticks in this whole scenario because, like Sony, for example, who has a bunch of artists release music under their label, for example, will go to the DMCA and be like, hey, a bunch of streamers use our material and a bunch of streamers use our artists in their material and we want it to be taken down or we want all the revenue from it. And it could be that maybe the people, the creators who made the Cyberpunk soundtrack were under some maybe Big Brother or under some other organization that's now trying to steal the revenue or basically take the revenue away from all these content creators and streamers who just want to play the game and promote it. So I don't know. It's always gonna be a tricky situation, but it's just incredibly frustrating with the way it's being so black and white, especially with a game like Cyberpunk, which is huge or a bit of a flop, obviously, or a huge flop. But yeah,
Yes, I played GTA 5 for many years and never really had this much of an issue. with the music, maybe because I don't like I stream it a lot of times. I
Mhm.
played, they show the song names on there. If you switch stations, probably it's hard to tell. But the game's 8 years old. If you should probably know off the top of the bat that if it's an 8-year-old game, you shouldn't really kind of care about what music it is. Maybe they added a couple stations. They added like maybe 2019 songs on there, but that's kind of the oldest, and that's kind of not like with these new games. Yeah, it's the new music. I just doesn't, especially 8-year-old song. I don't think it should kind of really be copyright material because everybody else has played it. If you've seen it once, then well, sorry, that's not going to make any sense. Um, I think the games will. I don't know. I think it could affect the creators because they can't play the background noise. Like imagine there's like a non like an NPC character turning up the music. Like just say in Cyberpunk, they turn on the music
Mhm.
and like so they can jam to the song. You can't do anything without it with it, and they're doing having a conversation while the music's playing while they're driving somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, have fun. You're gonna have a DMC,
Yeah.
so you're gonna have monetization strikes all the time, and that's not really great. And again, I mentioned in the last question, just the vibe. These musics kind of, especially when the game background sound isn't that great, it's kind of quiet.
Yeah.
Um, you know, kind of you hear all this chatter, you kind of just want to mute that out with the music, which kind of does it a lot. It's gonna make the games more frustrating, especially for the creators, and not that's gonna happen for a lot of these games.
Yeah. Agree. Yeah. And I think you hit a good point, especially like it being almost like a silent background. One example I use in one YouTube video talking again about 20 Ox Pro Skater is if you do want to stream it, unfortunately, like say because obviously the 20 Ox Pro Skater 1 and 2 just came out, great game. If you do want to stream it on Twitch, you're probably better off muting the background music and only having the sound effects. But as we know, if you just play Tony Hawk with only sound effects and there's no background music, it's very just dry, and then it
Yeah.
becomes a tricky thing. Do you just make it dry? Do you have to find copyright free music on like NCS, which is a big YouTube channel for that? I mean, then it just makes it not as good of an experience for both parties. Both the people playing the game, obviously the background music of 20 Ox Pro Skater adds so much to that game, but then also for a viewer and someone watching the stream, obviously they want to hear the music too because it makes it way more vibrant.
Yeah. Next question is Tom Tillis. I think that's how I pronounce it with the last name. And United States Senator recently said he wants streamers to face years in prison for the copyright actions on streams. I just say that they play music and all that, and it's yeah. How can this affect Twitch? And I don't know why. How can this affect the streaming on Twitch, and also for the hell of it, the overall prison system?
So honestly, I think that statement, like what that center, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I mean, it's kind of like grouping every streamer into this category that if you play one song, that you immediately get put in jail. I mean, I'm hoping. I mean, you never know with the way our government works and everything. But at the end of the day, I think it's something that I'm hoping will definitely never happen or not even get close to that. Because if, like, say, I'm just making this up in a very rare case, and I don't think very few streamers do this, if at all. Like, there was one case I don't know if you heard about this. I can't remember the person's name, but they streamed like a UFC, like a live UFC event, like a fight. There was a licensed commercial fight on pay-per-view. They streamed it on Twitch and pretended like they were playing a UFC game, which in my opinion is very clever. But they
Mhm.
got in trouble for that legally because obviously they were streaming something that you're supposed to pay for and it was copyright infringement. And I was like, okay, I can kind of see how that might be potentially illegal in that case. However, if you're just playing a game and you have background music in it, and especially because that falls under fair use, I don't see how in any way, shape, or form you should get any legal action. A DMCA takedown should be the absolute most extreme situation of your content being taken down, which again, it sucks and is bullshit. And also, we'll talk more about that, but that should be the absolute limit. The whole like legal action is just ridiculous to me.
Imagine going to prison just for a
Yeah.
DMCA strike for
Yeah.
5 years.
Just like imagine being on or in prison and you sit down next to somebody and they're like, oh, yeah, I stabbed 5 people. And you're like, oh, yeah, I played Halo, but I had Lady Gaga playing in the background. Like, I mean,
I think people will be scared to kind of do it now, because they know this is the biggest risk. Like
yeah,
people like the worst you can probably have is maybe a Twitch account takedown, where it gets like suspended. You can't stream anything, you can't watch anything. That's probably the worst you get. But imagine going to prison. The Twitch thing,
yeah,
yeah, it's a lot of times it's the career. they can find an alternative, they can work a job. But imagine like going to prison for that, and
Yeah.
that's everything gone. Like maybe not for like if you go back to streaming, just say the unbanned account, you find a way to just get back into streaming. But like imagine going to like you got to find a job,
Yeah.
because you can't stream your content anymore, even if you're there for a year. They don't like the prison record,
Yeah.
so that's not. I don't think it's a great system to have.
Yeah. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Next one I got is we have seen creators tweet. This is recent. This
Mhm.
is kind of similar. We're kind of talking about now. We have seen
Yeah.
creators tweet at musical artists to see if they can play the music on streams, and some say yes. This is prominent for some Nico Low,
Mhm.
a content creator, tweeted 21 Savage, and that actually she did. 21 Savage did respond back to her and said yes. Although it might not be enough proof for possible DMCA strikes, how can someone slide past that issue without having to tweet at artists and would musician? Okay, let's ask that one first. How would, before I add to the second part of that,
Mhm.
the question, how can someone slide past that issue without having to tweet at artists?
So, like I said before about the whole label issue, this is where it gets weird and super annoying is when and obviously I won't get into too much when it comes to label signing as a musician, whole other topic for, whole other discussion. But I will say that for me, I release all my music independently and I love that. Now, there's some benefits to releasing on a label, but in terms of the music side now, when you release under a label, even though it's your work, in a weird sense, the label owns your work. So there have been cases I've heard of where someone, like you just mentioned, tweeted at an artist or asked them, emailed them, whatever the case is, and said, "Hey, can I use your song in a stream or in a YouTube video?" The artist says, "Yeah, go for it." They use it and it gets copyrighted, it gets flagged, it's taken down, they get a strike, etc. And then they say, "Wait a minute, like the artist gave me permission." But the tricky thing is, even though the artist gave you permission on the artist end, because they sign it with a label and they're under contract, technically the label is the one that you have to get the clearance from. So if people are looking to like really use a particular song, one, reach out to the artist, and I'd suggest make sure that either A, the artist release it independently, or B, they release it under their own label. Make sure that the artist, because a lot of times artists don't know, they're not doing it to be mischievous. Like an artist truly thinks, "Oh yeah, you can use my song, I don't care, I'm not gonna go after you," but their label will. So that's the biggest thing, is make sure that if an artist does give you permission, 100% make sure that that artist also knows that they have permission to let you use their song. And then the second thing, and this is something I suggest to a lot of content creators, go on a YouTube channel like NCS or non-copyright sounds, find copyright free music. There's an insane amount of copyright free music there on the internet that you can use. Being honest, sometimes that's just the safest bet, because again, even if you reach out to an artist and they even think that they gave you the rights to use their song and they truly believe that their label is going to be okay with it, the label could still go after you. And unfortunately, you can't really do anything because the artist doesn't have control, because they licensed and basically sold away, in a sense, contract wise, their music to the label. So it's a tough area to navigate. But I always suggest, if you can, just get like non-copyrighted music.
I never knew that the label has control of it. I thought you
Yeah.
maybe sometimes having to tweet the artists, kind of
Yeah.
message the group. Yeah, it's like if it's fine or not, in the future. I thought that was the case.
Yeah, I mean,
So
it
that's
depends. Like every situation is different. I mean, sometimes some labels are cool about it and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna release your music, but we're gonna allow you to do whatever you want with it." Some labels don't care. The big ones, though, I mean, as you can imagine, any single time you release music under a label, especially if it's a big one, they usually fuck over a lot of artists in different ways. And so that's one of those pros and cons with labels. And especially independent music's on the rise, which is great, but yeah, it's usually the labels, especially talking about this whole DMCA takedown situation. It's usually the labels that are like the biggest assholes in the whole scenario.
yeah. Second part is, and would as we kind of add to that, would musicians like, or just say, for example, you mentioned Lady Gaga, Travis Scott, would go with Selena Gomez, Justin Bieber, on the top artists who are making like 9-digit salaries,
Yeah.
not who have 9-digit values, in the bank account. Really care if someone is playing a music without permission?
I don't think they care at all. If anything, this is the way that I look at it. Again, with me me both being a content creator and a musician, I get excited. Like I've been on YouTube videos sometimes that I stumbled upon and they happen to use one of my tracks. And I'm overjoyed because one, that's cool that out of all the music that exists, the millions or billions of songs, they happen to use my song. And two, that's free marketing. That's the way I've always looked at it. However, especially like you mentioned with people like Bieber, some of these big musicians, Daft Punk, we talked about Daft Punk earlier, all these big musicians, they usually don't care. And if anything, they're like, oh, this is cool. But again, it's usually the label that is the one that's the asshole about it. It's usually a label that will put in some type of algorithm or put it in some type of content ID database and say, any single time Sorry by Justin Bieber's played, whether it's in a stream, YouTube video, doesn't matter. You immediately take that video down or you immediately
You
get
thought,
all the revenue from it, which is fucked up.
yeah. I was just curious because I didn't like you look at how much money these guys they make.
Yeah.
Justin Bieber is probably has a lot of money. Doesn't really
Yeah.
care if he,
No.
just probably once the song releases the album. It's free promotion. Maybe they want to buy money the song on iTunes, whatever, Google Play, whatever you buy songs on the other phones. I thought it's maybe they wouldn't really care as long as they can make the money off like album sales and all that. But it just kind of
Yeah.
because you're not buying straight the music as well.
Yeah.
Well, the
It's
label is kind of screwing over, but
yeah. It's a label, honestly, because I feel like if you even ask like Justin Bieber, like, hey, do you care if we use your music in a YouTube video? He'd probably be like, no. If anything, I feel like any artist, unless you're just very bizarre for some reason, I feel like any artist would be overjoyed to have anybody use their music because it's free marketing in a sense. Like you're not paying to have your music in that stream or that YouTube video, but it's usually a label that's super money hungry. No matter how much money they have, they'll always be money hungry. And I think a label too feels like, whether it's right or wrong, in my opinion, it's more than wrong. I think a label feels a responsibility to get any revenue they possibly can for their artists. So even if they get 5 cents from some small streamer or YouTuber, they're going to extract that 5 cents, which fucks over a lot of small, big, and medium creators, any creator, period. So
yeah, you can take any like 5 cents because again, it's money. So
yeah,
you might as well take everything you can get.
yeah,
Uh, Next question I got for you is we're gonna switch into monetization a little bit.
okay,
In Fortnite Battle Royale, they have included multiple dances like the floss from other content creators, dancers, in the game, which Epic Games never, sorry, Epic Games never contacted the person to be allowed to have the dance to wait, let me read the question. In Fortnite, they have included multiple dances like the floss are from other dancers in which they never received permission or got paid from Epic Games just for their signature dance. Would someone like you in this situation file a lawsuit, even if it's probably helping your overall recognition? Just say you dance in the game or your music's played in the just say it dancing for Fortnite or um, like just say your music's posted as the person as you gets posted in GTA 5. Well, GTA 5 Rockstar games, you're probably gonna have to get contacted, but just say you dance, one of your dances make on the Fortnite, they never contact you or like any game. So yeah, if you understand
I
what I'm saying.
think it's interesting because one, I feel like 100% Fortnite, should do something to help out that creator because, talking dances, like say versus music, for example, like say I found out or someone told me, hey, Fortnite actually has a bunch of your tracks in their soundtrack of the game when people are playing it. And they never asked me permission to use my music in Fortnite. I'd be like, hey, I wouldn't like legally go after them aggressively, but I'd be like, hey, like you're making money off this game. You took my content that I personally made that took me a long time to make this music. You're benefiting and getting revenue from my music. I should at least get some of it. To me, that's fair. A dance, I think what's tricky is it's one of those, I think, more legal things, or being honest, I don't know as much about because the question is, can you, for example, copyright a dance? You can copyright a song, of course, but can you copyright a dance? I feel like you should be able to. Like the Floss example I know was a big one in other dances. I feel like that those creators should get something. I don't know if they can theoretically sue Fortnite. I don't know the legality
That was
of
a couple of years in the past. I think
yeah,
they had lawsuits and all that.
yeah, but like the dances, I don't know because I feel like I know, like, especially when it comes to legal realm of like IP in terms of like what intellectually is copyrighted or not, it's like you can't theoretically copyright an idea. A dance, though, I feel like you could potentially, like, I don't know if, for example, if Michael Jackson has copyrighted the moonwalk, for example. I don't know how that would work out too. So being honest, I'm not exactly sure. I think it'd be a very weird and gray area where I think depending if you have a good lawyer, you could probably go after them for it. But I think you'd have to argue that the dance is so unique and original and is your own creative work that you were allowed to copyright that dance, and therefore Fortnite is stealing copyrighted material without your permission.
Yeah, I honestly agree with what you said at the end. Just kind of you have to prove that's original because that's it usually is a lot of times. Like the
Yeah,
Floss name, his name is the Backpack Kid,
yeah,
and he's the one that created the dance back in 2018. It's just it's yeah, it's differences. It's kind of hard grade area because you have to. It's harder to prove that something is original. It's easier to find sounds, but it's harder to find dances, especially if you don't put the name of the dance on the well. If
yeah,
they alter the name of the dance on the just say the game.
yeah.
Um, I think I would file a lawsuit. As like the same thing as you, I would file a lawsuit because this is some like music. It like this is not music from like just say a dancer. Like dancers don't get the same amount of recognition as a musician. Musician makes
Agreed. Agreed.
10 to 20 like what the best dancer doesn't make that much like doesn't make as much money or even close to as what's compared to a musician artist. So you might as well, if this is something you create a dance, mostly these dancers are kind of just doing it for fun. Um, kind of just some of them do take they do take it seriously, but not kind of making it to Hollywood. You kind of understand it.
Yeah,
You have to pay them, and it's easy. It's hard to kind of prove it. It does make sense, but unlike music, it's a career, it's a hobby, that doesn't provide a decent a well, it provides a sustainable amount of money, but not like something where you don't have to worry about money anymore. Well, unless you're high end dancer, which they're usually still not going to do that, because a lot of the dancers are kind of just a lot of times teenagers, 20 college students, maybe some old, and they kind of desperately they kind of need the money because they don't have a lot of stuff. Well, it's easy to kind of be a dancer than sometimes a music artist because music artists you kind of need kind of the voice. As dancers, you kind of have to put a little more effort. It's kind of musician. Sorry, artist. Yeah, you need a voice and probably a little bit of luck. Just a voice, but dancers, it's kind of random, and they
yeah,
should be paid for it. I think for this situation, like the floss, I don't think you would. I think you would just kind of you would file a lawsuit, but I wouldn't take it from the game, and that's what happened.
agreed. Yeah, I agree.
I just don't take it down. Like you just Epic pay them like whatever amount, but you might as well just keep it in the game because
Yeah,
usually the thing with this is not always in the game constantly. The plus they always rotate this as if if you played Fortnite. Anyone who plays Fortnite, they were they just kind of change the shop the shop every 24 hours or maybe sometimes like every 3 days if it's like a really good like specialty item. So the dance is not always there. It's not there every day. It's there for maybe 24 hours. You buy it. If you miss it out, then it's probably not going to be there for a couple months. So
mm,
that's probably why you do it. If it's there constantly every day, it'll probably be, I don't know. I think just kind of rotating out of the system, buy it once. Maybe you should get a little bit of money because it's not always there. It's not going to be there for life.
yeah.
Next question. So we're gonna go into a little bit of monetization.
Mhm.
Monetization in YouTube space has been important, so the creators are able to make money off ads. But they have recently updated their term of service to which YouTube, the company will steal all your money, and the creator will sometimes make no revenue. Although YouTube is the most viewed website on the planet, what could be the reason they take a huge portion of the cut
Do
from?
you mean of content creators who are not in the partner program yet?
We'll go with anyone.
So the way I've gone back and forth about this a lot because on one end, so I can't remember the exact terms, but I believe you usually split 50-50 with Google, who owns YouTube, the revenue from the video. So if you post a video online, there's ads on it, typically it's 50-50. I believe it's actually you get 55% of the total revenue, Google gets 45. I believe, I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it's 55-45, but it's roughly 50-50 to make simplicity's sake. And I've gone back and forth about this because on one end, it's annoying that Google takes half the money that you put all this work and this content and blah, blah, blah. On the other end, though, for me as a YouTuber, over the years, I feel like I've kind of respected YouTube more because it's a very difficult thing to make a platform that's as big as YouTube that is free to join, free to post videos on, and yet you can still make money. Like if you actually want to make money online through content creation, not doing YouTube or not doing streaming, I'll just put streaming in that category too. Like if you like say just want to make money online doing that, you'd have to create a website, you'd have to code it, you'd have to host it, you'd have to figure out all these elements of how to create like a web store, how to get people's credit cards filed, like there's all these elements that come to play with trying to make money from creating content, especially digital content. And so the one thing I've gone back and forth about a lot, I think, is over time, I think I've not been as mad at YouTube, I think, compared to other creators, because YouTube has allowed me, I've been a full-time YouTuber for 5 years, and it's allowed me to travel. It's allowed me to make content about whatever I'm doing. And I don't have to know coding. I don't have to know computer programming. I don't have to know all the elements that happen with creating a website, hosting, putting a video on it, making sure that it can run correctly. And even though it is annoying that Google does take roughly about a 50% cut of all the ad revenue that I make, to me, I'm like, I'd almost rather them take that and me not have to do any work. All I do is make the video and then that's it, as opposed to like say I get 100% of the revenue, but then I need to hire, like say, a web coder. I need to hire all the people. So I think over time I've gotten more understanding of why YouTube takes half the ad revenue that you get, but it is still annoying that it is like 50% of how much you're making on YouTube.
How many, like, for per video of just how many ads do you run per YouTube video? Is it just kind of just usually at the start? Maybe you run in the middle. How many do you kind of usually do?
So the way it works on YouTube is when you have a video that's 8 minutes or longer, you can put in a mid-roll ad. My mentality is one, I always have ads in the beginning. That's kind of standard on YouTube. When it comes to anything in the middle of the video, because I know that can be annoying, I always ask myself, if I'm going to put an ad in the middle, which obviously is annoying, right? No one wants to see an ad in the middle. Am I bringing the viewer so much content and so much value that they wouldn't mind having that ad? So for me, I've done a lot of very technical videos. Obviously, like before how I posted a bunch of videos about, can you monetize gameplay on YouTube, DMCA takedowns, et cetera, et cetera. And so for me, I'll only put in an ad in the beginning if I am going to, if it's a video that I spent an insane amount of time on, a bunch of research that I'm now saving somebody time. Because if you think about it in a weird way, when you watch a YouTube video, any YouTube video you watch, unless you're part of a membership program, is free, right? Every video is free. So essentially what you're doing when you watch an ad or see an ad on YouTube is, in a weird way, you're almost trading your time for money, because you don't have to spend anything. It's free, but you're giving up the 15 seconds of that ad, or even the 3 seconds, like say before you skip it, or 5 seconds. So the way I look at it is it's a free kind of transaction where I don't have to pay money to be put on YouTube or put my video on YouTube. The viewer doesn't have to pay any money to watch my video and gain free knowledge from it. The only thing they have to give up in a weird sense is the time that the ad is to play, especially if it's like an unskippable ad for like 30 seconds, which is a long time. You have to sit there for 30 seconds, but now you're able to watch this video for free and hopefully gain some knowledge from it, or an experience, or whatever you're going for when watching a video.
Do you have to, so due to, like, I don't know if anyone's tested this or you tested yourself, but do you have to watch the whole, like, never mind, this is a stupid question because they probably have you skip ads, but how many seconds are you supposed to allow? Like, do you have to watch the whole video? What happens if you skip the ad? Do you, like, just say it's a 30-second video, 5 seconds, 25 seconds left, they tell you to skip the ad. You don't get, do you get revenue from that, or do you the only way you get is they watch the whole video of that. They watch the whole ad if it's not
Being,
if it's skippable,
I'm not
unskippable.
sure. Yeah, I'm not sure honestly of the way it gets broken down, but I'm 99% sure you get more money from them watching the entire ad than skipping the ad. I can't remember how it works out. I'm almost, I'd say 100% positive, but like, I'm not sure how that gets broken down. For example, I'm not sure. Again, I'm just making this up. That if let's say someone skips the ad, if you only get 10% of the ad revenue, as opposed to if they watch the whole ad, that you get 30%. I'm honestly not sure how that gets broken down, but you typically get more money if someone watches the full ad as opposed to just skipping it.
It's kind of easy on the phone because usually you can. It's
Yeah.
15 seconds long. You just press the button and boom, you got the
Yep.
money and you're already at the end of the video. I don't know if that's gonna. Hopefully, it doesn't affect it where you kind of they actually, yeah, you probably watch a 50-second ad, but you press the skip button, so you actually watch it for 1 second. Hopefully, it doesn't affect any of the revenue people make because maybe they want to watch because they probably detect the skip.
Yeah.
Just curious on that one because that's a possibility. Yep, it could be a thing. Next question is excluding. This going back, still going to monetization. Excluding the over extreme derogatory content that's said in the YouTube videos. You won't get you won't get paid and aren't allowed to say words like fuck, mother, effer, stupid, and other profane words that aren't directed towards them. Now, these aren't directed towards people, it's just said out loud. So it's
Mhm.
just probably
Yeah.
like, just say you hit your knee on something, you get angry. The reason for this is the younger population who watch their videos for content is because the younger population does watch the videos for content. Should the non-extreme profanity words or just situation with the knee, accidentally say it, minimal of those words said, the over extreme derogatory ones, and
Mhm.
also kind of you not affect monetization. Like you swear, but it's not directed towards someone. Should that not affect like? Shouldn't you kind of understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's a really tricky game because so take like say a video where someone swanks a lot, like it's an insane video, F bombs every like 3 seconds. What happened in the past is like say I'm just making this up as an example. Colgate, for example, like Colgate toothpaste, would see a video like that and say, "Hey, we don't want to be associated with a video where someone's being super, just swearing like nonstop and blah blah. We don't want to be on a video like that." So obviously that's why the adpocalypse happened. Well, there's a few different reasons, but I'm just like oversimplifying a lot. And so in some way, I get why, like say an advertiser like Colgate toothpaste, some people would say or who don't understand YouTube would go on YouTube and be like, wait, does Colgate support this random video that's about something super offensive or whatever the case is? So I think that's where kind of that dilemma became about. However, it is annoying that there is and everyone can agree on this. There's a definite line of someone making an ultra offensive video, swearing nonstop, and like you said, like so you're doing a fitness video, you hit your knee and you're like, shit. And then that's it. And you do a 30-minute long video and you have one S bomb. It sucks that YouTube actually does not necessarily flag it, but they'll show your video to less people and they'll actually you'll get less money because you had like one swear in that video, which is annoying. I think what YouTube's trying to do is there's three parties that happens with the whole YouTube scenario. There's the creator making the content, the viewer who watches the content, and then the third party is the advertiser. And YouTube is always trying to balance those three parties. They want the viewer to be on YouTube as long as possible. They want the content creator to be super happy to make content for YouTube, but then also they want to do whatever they can to keep the advertisers, because the advertisers who pay to be on YouTube, they're the ones that pay the YouTubers. They're the ones that allow the YouTubers to be able to make videos about whatever they want to do. So I think what YouTube tries to do is take the worst case scenario. So I think in YouTube's eyes, they said, look, if we have anything that's offensive, we can't risk it because God forbid more advertisers pull out, more advertisers don't want to advertise with us. Other YouTubers might get less money, which screws over a lot of YouTubers. So I think what YouTube tries to do, at least in their mind, at least this is my guess, is YouTube says, okay, we're going to take worst case scenario. If we hear swears, we're not risking it. We're not risking losing more advertisers because it's going to, unfortunately affect a lot of YouTubers to lose a lot of money. And that's what happens. So I think they try to take like the worst case scenario.
I never thought of that. With the advertisements because usually, okay, so you the average like um for example, like just with your videos, what ads do you usually get run? Like what ads are usually on your videos? Just curious.
So what's funny, the ads that get put on my videos are all over the place. I right now, which I know is a lot, I have 7 different YouTube channels. 3 of them are monetized. And so it usually depends upon the niche. So, for example, I have a music production channel. That one, as you can imagine, mostly ads related to music. I have another channel, that have the DMC takedown video and other videos. That one's kind of random. It's a blend of different ways to grow your income and lifestyle design. So, like if I have a health and fitness video, typically health and fitness. So it really depends upon the niche, because also what YouTube tries to do, at least with ads, is they try to say, hey, what ad do we think the person watching this video will be most likely to want to see this ad, or even potentially click it and buy something.
Oh, I never thought of that because I thought usually they kind of just give you random ads.
It can be,
The,
yeah, it can be, but yeah, it's also random within that too, because sometimes it is just a random ad. Like sometimes it's an ad for Doritos, and I'm doing a fitness video, and if you're like Doritos, obviously don't usually coincide with fitness,
yeah.
but like you never know.
Yeah, because I thought they kind of give you like whatever ads are kind of popular at the time, and I didn't think, oh, there's a reason. Maybe I didn't think like just say you swear, someone like you just kind of goes on a swear about does really Colgate toothpaste really give a crap about like what videos he posts? Just let me post. I didn't think they kind of
I don't.
the ads. Sorry, the ads kind of it's just ads. It's not like it's the YouTube video doesn't really the YouTuber doesn't really correlate to what ads are being played to correlate to
Agreed.
the ad revenue. So I don't get why ads kind of back out of it because hey, I'll continue.
So yeah, I think this is my guess. I think it's because of people, like I said, I think who don't understand YouTube. Like obviously, me and you and most YouTubers and even a lot of viewers understand that you can get an ad about anything. It's not that Colgate is supporting the video; it's just a roll of the dice. However, I think for a lot of people though, who like say will go on YouTube and like say, I'm making this up. Like say there's one video that's like incredibly racist, right? A really fucked up racist video, and a Colgate ad gets put before that. A lot of people who don't understand YouTube will sometimes think, wait a minute, Colgate's ad is before this unbelievably fucked up racist video. Is Colgate supporting this kind of video or this kind of mindset? Right now, obviously they don't. It's usually a roll of the dice of what ad gets put on the video. But I think YouTube was like what YouTube had to take a back step on is they realized a lot of people didn't like the fact that Colgate could potentially be associated with a racist video. And even though Colgate's not doing anything wrong, people might perceive them as supporting that type of video. And I think that's where it came about.
I never thought of that because it's just like it's just an
Yeah,
ad, but the
it
video
sucks.
might be
Yeah.
horrible, but it's like if hey ad shows up and whatever, I'll skip it. Doesn't I
Yeah.
don't think ever
Yeah.
correlates to it. Um, so kind of they do a lot of times. I mentioned with the younger population. Do you think it's kind of like does it really like with these swear words? Does it really kind of matter to younger population that much? That's why they try to limit swear words on videos. Like try to like turn away from video like for the younger population turn away from videos with swear words. Although the problem is they're gonna learn it. Is that it's
Yeah.
interesting.
I think I think that's like yeah, I think that's also a great area. I think I mean a lot of this is a great area. And I think that's why I think at the end of the day, anytime there's like a situation with this, I always ask myself, why would YouTube do this? And I also think YouTube is probably taking the worst case scenario. They're trying to be as safe as possible. So having that mindset, why did YouTube do this? And so for me, like say with kids, like say a kid doesn't know swear words, and like say we have super conservative parents, they don't want any their sons or daughters to know swear words, and then they watch a YouTube video that has a swear word, and they go to YouTube and say, hey, like what the hell, like my son or daughter just learned a swear word from one of your YouTube videos. Obviously, that's super annoying. That's why obviously there's YouTube Kids and everything. But I think what YouTube tries to do at the end of the day is try to be like, okay, we want to be as safe as possible. So that way we satisfy the advertisers. So that way we still have money rolling in to pay our creators and to have our creators get paid from ads on their videos. So I think YouTube tries to be super, sometimes almost too safe, but I think they do it with the mindset that they don't want to lose out on any advertisers who potentially want to be on YouTube.
This is really concerning for someone with the TikTok generation. Where
Oh
there's
yeah,
a
yeah,
yeah, we got like
yeah.
for example, you got like houses, hype house,
Mhm.
like all these, for example, Thomas Petrell, Bryce Hall, all the famous TikTok creators, they usually have video. Well, they blur it out. They don't. they kind of just stop the swear words. But you can always expect what could he be saying with those, why he's kind of
Yeah.
stopping
Like,
it.
you know what he's saying.
Yeah, so he
Yeah.
swears a lot, and why they kind of stop, and you're concerned. Oh, wait, why is it stopped? He's probably saying something bad. So they probably will just curious, look at the comments. What swear words are you saying? And then someone,
Yeah.
like there's probably like a 10-year-old, maybe like an 8-year-old, like, hey, why is Brycey saying, why is Brycey pouring like beeping
Yeah.
all these words? And it was like, what words are you saying? And then they list 500 comments of like 500
Yep.
different possible bad words, and it's like, wow. And it's like the
Yeah.
kid
Like,
is like, wow, that's so fucking cool. I want to be like that motherfucker one day where I can swear all motherfucking day about stupid shit. And
yeah.
then
Yeah.
and then it happens, and then they turn into the kid that swears a lot.
Yeah.
I think you gotta have to expose as much as I don't want, it's gonna happen. The kids are gonna learn
Yeah.
swear words someday. It's gonna be older, younger. I don't think as much as you get influenced as you get influenced by your parents, your siblings who are young. As young, you kind of have to adapt to situations. You hear many times at parties swearing, and you can just it's going to happen. And I don't think you should really limit that to younger population. Maybe for these content creators, just limit the swear words, because they have younger YouTube viewers on YouTuber, and they do a
Yeah.
good job on it. But I think just make sure it doesn't get influenced that young, but they're gonna learn it someday, and
Yeah.
at really young ages, because again, a lot of these parents, I don't know, it's something I kind of really want to talk about. Um, Next question I got for you is: we have seen streamers like Alinity and Tfue perform illegal actions on streams before, and not get suspended or banned,
Yep.
but have seen other streamers get banned for either racial slurs said by another person in the game or by playing music. Um, could the bias system, and these are popular creators, Millennium
Yeah.
and Tfue, so they have a lot of fans.
Mhm.
Could the bias system by Twitch/YouTube, where they, hurt the company in the long run when these issues become more prevalent? So what I mean by the bias system is they kind of, if they make the platform grow, they make a lot of money, they help get a lot of content out, they they bypass whatever crappy stuff they do.
It's, so first off, I feel like it's, this goes without saying, but I might as well just start here. It's unbelievably fucked up with, and I'm not being honest, I'm not going to go after Alindy here or anyone like that, but I just say it's in general. And I feel like even Alindy, I mean, I've never talked to her, had any association with her, but I feel like even someone like her, she'd agree that it's fucked up that, like, say if she does something, and obviously she's self-aware of it, that if she does something, it's okay on Twitch. But if someone else does something and it's the exact same thing, their account gets banned forever, right? Obviously that's fucked up. Huge double standard. On the other end, though, I'm gonna take a very weird kind of angle here, and take like a side segment and then bring it back. Obviously, all of us have heard of the chain smokers. Obviously, with me being a DJ and musician, I'm going to take use this as an example. When the chain smokers made Selfie, obviously it blew up everywhere. Everyone's heard the song Selfie. The whole like, let me take a selfie went everywhere. A lot of DJs and musicians hated the chain smokers for making Selfie get so big. They would perform on different shows and all they do is hit play on CDJs, which is the main thing you used to DJ. And they'd run around the stage taking selfies with people. And a lot of DJs said, okay, this is giving DJs a bad name. This is really fucked up. However, you can make a very big argument that so many people got into electronic music because of the chain smokers, because of Selfie. Music festivals arguably got bigger because of the chain smokers. Nightclubs in Vegas, other nightclubs all around the world. So you can make an argument that even though, yeah, maybe the chain smokers for a lot of people, they didn't like how it was a very cheesy, almost annoying artist that blew up. And as a quick side note, chain smokers are super talented, but with the Chainsmokers blowing up, it helps blow up the entire music category of EDM. So even as a smaller EDM artist, you probably got in a weird way more attention and more views because the Chainsmokers did what they did. Now, bringing this back to Twitch in a similar way, I look at it that, like you kind of were mentioning, although it's annoying that, like, say, Twitch doesn't go after Alindy or Tfue or anybody else who does this.
Actually, let me disrupt you for a second. I'm gonna
Yep.
kind of explain so you get more of a situation.
Yeah.
Tfue said racial slurs, and Alindy was it's a really well-known hated name.
Mhm.
Either gave vodka to her cat, or Alindy had vodka in her mouth and spit it into the cat's mouth, or Alindy threw a cat who was on her shoulder across the room into a wall.
Okay, that's a whole different thing. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's very
those were the
fucked up. Okay.
situations.
Oh, okay, yeah. So very different thing. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I think I fully understood that. Okay, yeah, that is just unbelievably fucked up. And I think that, like I said, I think that maybe what Twitch is trying to think of is that by having the big creators on their platform, they make the most amount of money because obviously Twitch takes a cut of any big creator. I think that's the only reason why. Because if you think about it, like that is legitimate animal abuse if she's live streaming and trying to give vodka to a cat. Like, there's no question there. That's obviously like clear animal abuse. And, like you mentioned as well with TFU and other people, if they're doing illegal things and Twitch is doing nothing about it, I actually think Twitch should be held responsible because they're almost in a weird way. It's kind of like the silence is also consent in the sense that if Twitch is not doing anything and they're being silent about the situation, they're, in my mind, saying it's okay for this to continue. It's okay for streamers to abuse their animals, hypothetically, on camera. Racial situations and racial injustice is okay. Like, by not doing anything, it is consenting to that. And I think that is a big issue. And I think that's something that Twitch definitely has to change like their policies on.
Yeah, I think for those situations, maybe the racial one by Tifu, that's probably, that's probably just a suspension as long as it's nothing kind of really over the top, like disgusting. But the animal abuse one, the vodka, I think that should just be automatic ban. I don't think there should be
Yeah.
another chance. And like for even the smaller content creators, it's a Satan cross. There's no matter how big, how Satan on YouTube, with the Logan, kind of happened a couple years ago with the Logan Paul situation.
Yes.
Remember viewing going to a suicide forest in Japan and showing all the dead bodies,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that should automatically be, no, there should not be redemption. There should be automatic ban. Even if there's apology in place, you should automatically ban. I think you just got to be more strict and just like you fuck
Yep.
up in one action where it's like the animal abuse, showing the dead bodies, like the racial stuff. As long as it's not over the top, that's just probably just a suspension. But like some of like any abuse acts heard over the stream, um just heard by the person streaming, not kind of like in the background, because that usually does happen where
Mhm.
sometimes they get banned, although it's someone in the background doing it. But it should be automatic, like suspension, just
Yeah.
automatic removal of the channel, banning. You can't allow the stream anymore. That's just, I don't. It's not. I know they make a lot of money, but you have other people who can make the money for you, and
Yeah.
it's
And I
just one
think,
person,
mhm,
not
yeah.
500.
Yeah. And I think it's also too, like, I think it also depends on this situation. Like, for example, like, bring up like racial injustice. Like, there are a lot of people who've done unbelievably fucked up racial things online that 100% should be canceled. Right. And so I think it depends on the situation of, let's say a Lindy situation with their cat. Let's say there's a situation where the cat jumped up and she like freaked out and the cat fell off her. Well, I don't know if I cat that animal abuse. Obviously, she should have been a little bit more aware that her cat was with her, but that's a little bit different than, like, say, her, like we mentioned, giving vodka to her cat, like two complete different things. And so I think every situation is different from situation to situation, but I think 100% that there needs to be, I think, something in place where if someone does something, depending on what it is, that is unbelievably fucked up, it should be, yeah, there should be a lot of actions taking place.
Oh, this actually happened recently too.
Mhm.
These are kind of old events, but this was, I think, this was 8 days ago. A guy who was playing Tarkov, he killed. It's just someone on Twitter. He killed a guy, and he found his stream, and then he's heard in the background. He got really angry. How videos can get really angry.
Mhm.
And then his son was in the back. His son was in the room, and he told him to snap his neck because he didn't leave the room. Oh my god. And it was a really
Jesus.
small streamer. Um
Mm.
and it sucks that and hopefully you got banned for it. You know,
Yeah.
something that you never want to hear from anyone, but it's crazy how stuff has been going.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, Continue. What you about to say?
No,
Or
no, no. I just,
oh, okay.
yeah.
So next question is: with streaming slash content creating being considered full-time careers as of in the last 5 years, could that career decrease if copyright strikes keep continuing? And how could this affect your how could this affect your career? Which you I kind of wrote this because I was supposed to get kind of how could this affect your career in music and your interest in music and your career?
So for me, also this is like a very personal thing for me, I guess, starting at this point, because like I said many times, I'm both a musician and a YouTuber. I always use my own music. So the whole copyright thing, luckily, huge mega knock on wood here, has never really affected me too much, because anything that I use in my videos, I always make my own original content, and music obviously is original content because I make all my own music. That being said, I think that for a lot of content creators, the whole copyright situation, if you want me to be honest, I think is only going to get worse, because what happened on YouTube is a lot of content creators were, we probably remember this from years ago, were uploading videos, or I put videos in quotation marks because then it'd be like a static picture of, like, say, an album cover, and they'd upload like Daft Punk, or they'd upload any other artist in their music, and then YouTubers started putting ads on that. So a lot of YouTubers were making money just from videos that had songs in them. Obviously, the DMCA said, "Okay, wait a minute, no, you're stealing, you're making money. I don't know if it's stealing, but you're making money from someone else's content. You're not adding anything unique. We're going to try to take that money and put it back to the artist and the rightful owner." And so obviously the whole DMCA thing happened with YouTube, but now YouTube's gotten a lot better, where now you can take the song down, you can edit the song out so you can get all full revenue, blah, 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 blah. And I think the whole DMCA situation is now moving to Twitch, like we talked about. However, Twitch has not put any tools into place like YouTube has for the takedowns. With YouTube, you can argue it, you can explain more, you can, like I said, go into a special editor on YouTube and take that song down. With Twitch, like we talked about with past streams, they just remove them completely. And so I think with the whole copyright situation, it's only going to get worse, which is really unfortunate to say. And I think that is going to affect a lot of creators, because in a weird way, you almost then have to understand a lot of the legal aspects of creating content. Things like fair use is a nightmare right now. And so fair use is another big thing that you probably should understand more about it. But then it's like, for content creators, they have to then juggle all these hats of not only making really good content, but making sure that it doesn't infringe upon any copyrights and blah, blah, blah.
Imagine like the streamers in the music category who do like sing the songs. That's why I was as kind of getting a guess. Like they sing the music of songs that have already existed. So like they sing an acoustic. Just say go with a just let's say a female streamer or sings a song from Justin Bieber. Imagine if they get a copyright strike for that, though, singing exact lyrics to a song. Like imagine that. And that's what they kind of do. People request songs on there, they sing them, and imagine every time takedown, takedown, takedown. Where although it's not the official song, it's just a kind of a someone else singing their song. Imagine something like that where they just take down all the videos because of it. But I don't think it's gonna happen. Your camera's frozen at the moment. Oh. As we're kind of fixing the situation, your camera's frozen, and the audio's too. Yeah, let me. Invite you back. Oh, okay. We're gonna have to fix some issues right here. We're gonna wait a couple seconds. Sorry, guys. I know it's not up. There you go. Let me kind of cut. As you're trying to get back right now. Sorry for that little interruption there. I think internet probably shut out a little bit of issues on his side. But oh, there you go.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I don't know. My internet's being was being
Yeah.
fine for a second. I don't know what is going on, but yeah, I continue.
I'll repeat it where I just said.
Yep.
Imagine like you being who's someone who sings, like a female streamer who sings songs on Twitch, and like you get if it gets taken, you make money, donations get through, and then you have DMC strikes, and though you're singing someone else's song, well, you're singing to someone else's song. You're not playing someone else's strong song in the background.
Mhm.
Like imagine a situation like that.
So those, honestly, I don't know. That is something I don't know a lot about, if you want to be honest. One thing I do know that I can say is, so there's a bunch of them, but one of the biggest independent music distributors. So like say, if you want to put music on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, Amazon, etc., you can use a platform called DistroKid. DistroKid is very good. It's very easy. And on DistroKid, you can upload covers. So like you mentioned, like say if I make a song, like say I do a cover of Justin Bieber song, it's me playing guitar. So I play all the guitar myself and I sing, of course, myself. So it's all my own original creation based off his work. And I cover one of Justin Bieber's songs. I can legally release that as a cover song on Apple Music, iTunes, Amazon, all those platforms. So you can actually legally do that via a platform like DistroKid. So it is weird though that when it comes to the DMCA, you are able to post a cover on, again, like Spotify, for example, of you doing a Justin Bieber cover song. However, if you take that exact same song or cover song or play it out live, like you mentioned, and the stream, they will take it down. It it's one of those situations that doesn't make sense, and it's annoying. Like I said, that YouTube does have tools in place now where you can argue, hey, this is fair use. This is this, like all the other legal aspects of copyright infringement. However, Twitch has nothing like that. I think eventually they will. Like YouTube in the beginning didn't have any tools. Now they do. I think Twitch is still kind of in that infancy stage where because they just got the DMC takedowns, Twitch is in a lot of hot water that they're like, fuck, we can't even risk it. We're just taking down anything. If DMCA says to do this, we're doing it, no questions asked. And obviously that fucks over a lot of creators who, like I mentioned before, the guitar player from Dragon Force, he was playing his own music that he wrote and it got taken down. Now, obviously that makes no sense, but Twitch doesn't even want to risk it.
This happened a couple of days ago. I think I think it was BlizzCon, and Metallica was playing their own music, and then they were playing, I think they were playing their own song, and then they stopped it and they played, I think, a Nintendo soundtrack to replace it while they're playing.
Oh, that's funny.
Like, so they just stopped it. It's their own music. They're playing going fine, and then they like midway said, "Oh, we're just gonna replace the background real quick." It's like, oh, they're still playing. Yep. Okay, cool. We're thinking they're playing their own music to the crowd, but we're just gonna put some Nintendo so we don't have problems. And it's like, that was hilarious. So speaking of you talking about the platforms, will YouTube or Twitch have a which platform will have a bigger impact, Twitch or YouTube, if DMCA strikes keep happening or become more serious, like going to prison and such?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think in terms of just the whole effect of DMCA on Twitch versus YouTube, I think right now, because DMCA takedowns happened on YouTube first, like we talked about earlier, and YouTube then now has tools, like I mentioned, that allows you to remove the song and everything. I think DMCA takedowns are a lot less aggressive on YouTube because as a content creator, you have more tools at your disposal to argue that claim, especially as you can imagine, a lot of DMCA takedowns can be false or fake or just wrong in general. So I think the problem is I think it's going to affect Twitch way more. And I think, like I said, right now, Twitch is trying so hard to satisfy the DMCA so they can keep being Twitch and keep supporting their streamers and allowing people to have a platform to stream. But I think Twitch 100% in the future has to add in a lot more tools to be available to streamers, like we talked about with past streams, where if you do get a takedown, you could argue and say, hey, wait a minute, like this is my song. Or like say, if like say they thought you were playing one song, but they weren't, you could say, hey, this actually is a complete wrong or incorrect takedown. So I think right now that DMCA takedowns are unfortunately affecting Twitch way more than YouTube. I honestly think it's just because since it happened on YouTube first, YouTube went and said, okay, we have to figure out a bunch of tools to accurately make this more of a situation. Because obviously in the beginning it was black and white. You think it's going to get down or not. That's it. Now there's a gray area where YouTube says, okay, we understand there are other situations. Now we have better tools at their disposal for creators.
See, I think I thought it was going to be YouTube first because I think YouTube could be worse because of how big the platform is. It's a lot more accessible, but Twitch again, they don't. It's harder because you don't have. because you don't have all the tools. They have audio play for 30 seconds. And doesn't even it's not really supposed. It's not using it to make the money for the stream. It always gets taken down. And that's kind of where I can't think of YouTube because it kind of it's just more accessible. It's a lot of people do play music, but but it's not like they tend to watch out more for that on YouTube than Twitch because Twitch is just a live stream. But sometimes even if they could have account suspensions because of it, because YouTube you can I don't know. It's easier to set up, easier to kind of, I'm gonna be honest, maybe it's a lot easier to kind of make money on YouTube because Twitch, because you got donations, subscriptions. It's easier to keep count how much you make in YouTube. It's kind of usually ads. But that's kind of Twitch. You don't have all the tools. Like the video gets taken down, boom, you're not making any money from a stream. You're possibly having account suspensions, though you can't even prove anything. And Twitch has been in a really odd state right now because they have been banning streamers for no reason. They don't explain, like they ban them and they get no explanation of why they got banned. And that's been happening the last week or so, especially with with people like Phase Adapt and 100 Thieves Tommy. So yeah. Last question I got for you is, as a streamer, as a YouTuber, have you ever received any emails, notifications of your content being taken down due to DMCA or monetization strikes?
Yes. This.
You might as well explain a couple instances while at it.
Yeah, so this could open up Pandora's box because we could go into a whole other realm on the music side of things, but this is where things get very kind of funny and interesting and for lack of a better word, annoying. The only times I've had content be taken down from DMCA that, let's say, was not justified, because obviously, for example, let's say I do a video or let's say I'll use an example. Let's say I post a video and I remixed Justin Bieber and it gets flagged because that's Justin Bieber's song. To me, I'm like, that makes sense. No big deal. YouTube doesn't penalize me. They just, hey, you just can't make money from the video. I'm okay with that. What's happened to me that gets incredibly frustrating is I've had times where I posted a song that I made that's all my own original work, and it gets flagged to someone else's song by accident. And then when I go to argue it, it becomes this huge situation. And typically it usually resolves okay. But I've had times where it's almost been like not gotten to like a legal issue, but it's gotten to be a lot bigger because a company will say, no, we think it's our artist. And a label will say, no, we think that this song, you actually use parts of one of our artists in your song. I'm like, no, this is my own original creation. I made everything from scratch. And that's where the whole DMCA takedown gets very annoying, is because YouTube and Twitch as well typically will favor the person doing the takedown, not the creator itself. So in a weird way, they have the upper play, even though I made everything right, even though they're in the wrong and I'm in the right. If the label says, hey, no, we just think this random Marc guy, even though he said he made the song, we think he took a piece of one of our artists and one of their songs and used it in a song, then it becomes the situation of, well, who's right, who's wrong? And YouTube will typically favor the other person. Luckily, I've never had a situation where it went all the way up and I got like a big, luckily it never got to that point, because at the end of the day, especially like when I talk, I usually reach out to the label itself and explain things almost like I have to bring it down almost like musically of what I did in the track and said, look, this is how I made this song. This is how everything that happened. I understand that maybe you're just trying to protect your artist. At the same time, this is 100% an incorrect copyright flag and an incorrect potential DMCA takedown, because in no way, shape, or form does your artist content appear in my content. And then typically they'll review it and be like, okay, you know what? No big deal. And so typically it usually works out well, but it is annoying that for me, and I feel like every musician and any content creator has to deal with this, that sometimes even for me, when I finish up a new song, there's a little part in the back of my head when I go to upload it on YouTube says, I hope this doesn't get flagged in an incorrect way. Even though I made everything, I hope this doesn't get flagged. And sometimes it does. And then I'm like, great, now I have to go through this whole legal or potential legal process of reaching out to them, explaining all these terms and blah, blah, blah. It's a nightmare. It's getting better though.
Yeah.
I'll say that to you. I'll give that to YouTube. It's getting better.
How many like in your last, have you received any of those notifications in your last 10 videos? Like just say whatever content you created recently in the last 10. Nothing has happened, or is it you've been just say the last
I've
10 videos
been
you ever uploaded?
I've been good. I'd say at least, to even backdate it, I think the last time I got an incorrect one was probably maybe like 2000, maybe 18 or 19. So the good thing is in the past 3 years, I've probably not gotten a single one. The only times I did is when I'd like say remix someone else's song, which would make sense. I took someone else's song, I remixed it.
Yeah, okay.
It contains, yeah, that's fine with me. But like say if it's an original work, yeah, I'd say probably 2 or 3 years is the last time I actually got an incorrect one, which has been pretty cool. Like it's gotten better, which is good, but still not perfect, but it's gotten better.
How long does it usually take? How long does it usually take to get some of those strikes resolved, like those DMCA strikes resolved?
So it depends. So when you
Just
counterclaim
go
or
with your
put
recent one, like your
the
recent
most
one,
the
the
most
one in
recent
2018.
one, 2018, the last one, it took about, I'd say maybe 4 or 5 days. But other times, some labels don't even get back to you, and then it's up to 30 days. Because if you
Oh,
appeal on YouTube, they have 30 days to kind of give you a counter appeal as to why their DMCA takedown was legitimate. And if, like, say, they don't respond in 30 days, YouTube says, okay, they took too long to respond. We're going to remove the claim completely. So also you want them to
oh,
respond. Yeah.
so that's kind of good a little bit. It's like
Yeah.
30 days. They didn't respond. Okay, screw it. They didn't respond.
Yep.
Guess you don't get it. You don't win anyways because whatever
Yep.
they want to ignore you, ignore it. How many of these claims have you? Not the remix ones, but how many did you have you lost? Or if you remember, I don't know. That might be a stupid
Luckily,
question.
none.
Okay,
I
just
know.
curious.
Luckily, not. I've never lost a. I think because it's a music thing, and because of, let's say, and this way I always look at it. If it ever got to a big legal thing, I can literally prove based off, like, say, my music production file, for example, that I created all the elements.
Okay, just
So
making
it's
sure.
never gotten. Yeah, so I've never lost any. Luckily, knock on wood. But yeah, but it is annoying that I have to deal with that.
Well, that's going to be the end of the main kind of talking about DMCA monetization topic. I got one more question for you. This is a closing topic question. You, as similar to the opening topic question, you don't usually kind of relate to the main topic. As I kind of said, okay, I got to come up with a closing topic question. I noticed that you kind of retweeted or kind of tweet about Tom Brady a lot.
Yeah.
So I noticed that you're a Tom Brady fan. What was your initial
Yes.
reaction when he left the Patriots, and how? And with the Super Bowl win.
Ooh, all right, good last question. I guess we'll finish off with that. I mean, I just respect him. I'll say this to speak because a lot of people have asked me, like, okay, you're from Massachusetts and everything. What do people from Massachusetts and Boston like? What's your viewpoint? With myself included, everyone really respects Brady. I think all of us were sad to see him leave and go to the Buccaneers, but I think a lot of us are still supporting him. Also, the fact that he has that many Super Bowl rings
7.
at that age, like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's insane. That dude's like a machine. I think everyone from Boston feels the same way, and I feel the same way in Cleveland. It's like, hey, you know what? It sucks he's not on the Patriots anymore, but we're still rooting for him 100%. Like, I'd be very curious to see if it ever turned into like a Buccaneers versus Patriots as the Super Bowl. That would be very interesting. But I know, every person from Boston was 100% rooting for him and the Bucks in the Super Bowl, just because all of us still support Brady.
Oh, just making sure. Because I thought,
Yeah.
uh, I think this like in the move, people have questioned it and said maybe he should retire because just. But it didn't make sense. As some people said, it didn't make sense to go to Tampa because he's not going to be there for that long. You might as well just get kind of a new quarterback, see what you can draft out of 2019 draft, which didn't really have many quarterbacks in it. Fortunately, didn't really. I don't know what pick they were. Uh, they were the 13th pick, so they kind of lost all the good quarterbacks already. With Tagovailoa, Herbert, Burrow, they were kind of out of tension for that. I'm probably forgetting quarterback on there, but we'll figure that out soon. I didn't. Some people said it probably didn't make sense, but I think this was kind of smart. I think I would have loved him to finish out his career in Patriots with the
Yeah.
Patriots because you've seen other people. Dirk Nowitzki, Kobe Bryant, uh, there's probably many others. Um, kind of stick with one team throughout their whole career, and maybe Brady could keep that. He's built a legacy, and now the question, well, how is he going to do under Bruce Arians? Because he's made a system, considered a system quarterback ever since he's been with Bill Belichick for 20 years, and
Mhm.
since 2001. And now he wins his Super Bowl in his first year, and Bill Belichick
Yeah.
ain't a system quarterback anymore.
Yeah.
And that was all him. So it was great
Yeah.
for
I
him to
mean,
win.
yeah, that's why
Especially,
the way I look at it is rooting for the Patriots. I'm mad that he left because obviously, like you said, it would have been cool if he stayed with the Patriots. However, rooting for Tom Brady himself, I think it's cool because also there's especially someone like Brady, always gonna be haters, right? There's a lot of Brady haters out there. And I feel like with this win, it really does solidify him as truly like the GOAT. Because a lot of people before said, oh, well, it's probably just the Patriots or Belichick. There was always that kind of Belichick versus Brady debate. And I think now that he went to a completely different team in a completely different division and went on and won the Super Bowl, I think it helps shut up a lot of the haters who used to say it was all these other factors.
oh yeah, it's got to be there.
Yeah.
Um, so that's going to be the end of the podcast. Thank you for
Okay.
joining late
Mhm.
tonight.
Yeah.
Do you want to give any shout outs before we end it off to anyone?
Honestly, not really. I'd say, yeah. I mean, I'd say the biggest thing I would just give a shout out to all the people who are listening to this podcast and watching it. My best advice is always take the safe road, like of everything we talked about. And I'll give a shout out to NCS. I have no affiliation with them, but NCS is a YouTube channel completely for free. You
No
can
copyright
download free
sounds. Yeah.
music. Yeah, no copyright sounds. I give them the shout out because for a lot of creators, if you're trying to do a game where like, oh, maybe if I play the song softly in the background, it won't get copyrighted or we'll get DMCA takedown. Don't risk it. Just use actual songs that are not copyrighted. So that way you never even have to worry about it.
Yeah, that's smart. So thank you for joining. Hopefully, you guys at home kind of on YouTube learn that, yeah, don't be an idiot. Just make sure you watch out for your music content, whatever.
Yeah.
Make sure you don't swear often and post stuff that could possibly get you banned or suspended. So yeah, that's gonna be in the podcast. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you later.
Peace.